We ready? Oh, uh, this this morning on our breakfast club, we're talking games.
Do you really want to be yourself at work?
How to make money playing games.
Recording the classroom.
How to go to school playing games.
Tech for change. Playing games?
Pl- Plus recommendations for playing games.
Nice.
I'm going. I themed it up good today.
Awesome. Well, welcome to our episode number 11. I'm Chandra Achberger,
And I'm Curt Achberger.
and let's dive into the stories today.
Let's let's do it.
Why don't you go first, since
Okay.
the game?
Yeah. So as I alluded to in the read there in the beginning, I picked three stories that I picked them. They had just been accumulating, so I decided to save over the last couple of days. As I see stories that are interesting, that's sort of what I do for the show. I'll bookmark them, and there was enough all about gaming that so I'm just going to talk about all these at once. I will, of course, if you've listened to any of the previous 10 episodes, be talking about games again in the future. But I'm gonna make this one all about it because these are all topical. They've happened recently. So the first one is something I've talked about in previous episodes, and that is the prize pool for the big Dota 2 tournament that's coming up. So Dota, for the uninitiated, stands for Defense of the Ancients. All you really need to know is that is a game that many people play online, and they have a big annual tournament every year. They have lots of tournaments throughout the year, but there's one big one called the International. It would be like the World Cup for video games, except that it happens every year instead of every 4 years. And this year, the company that owns the game, Riot, they decided to put out this little thing called a compendium. It's a little digital good. You don't need to know much about it, except that you can buy it for $10. And every time someone buys it for $10, $2.50 of that goes to the prize pool for the tournament. Then when the international happens, which is in July, so coming up here next month, the winning teams will get to split the prize. So that's well and good. And then the thing that makes that newsworthy is that since they released that, the prize pool has just taken off. So they have somebody came up with a tracker, a little site. So as of right now, it's at $9.9 million.
Wow.
Is the total prize pool. And there's a at 10 million it unlocks some features or something. So anyway, there's incentive for all the people to get this up to 10 million. It's been increasing by $46,000 a day. So
Wow.
and there's 26 days to the next tournament. So it's going to go over 10 million, right? Because some people will buy it after that. So that's the prize pool. And what that means is right now, if the tournament were held today, the first place team would get $5 million. Just them. $4.951 million. Second place, so not winning, but coming in second, you'll get $2.1 million. Third place, $1 million, all the way down. So it's like golf, right? You know, the prize pool of the golfers, all the way down to the 8th place team. So you could finish 8th, not even and you get $148,000.
Wow. Yeah.
So, all right, for playing a video game. Now these
Happy
guys are
Gilmore. I want
Yeah,
the
right?
big check.
Yeah, I want it as a big. Yeah, they do. They do the whole thing, right? So $148,000 for finishing 8th place, but some bunch of kids, basically, 18-year-olds. I think there's and write in or let me know if I'm wrong. I think it's 4 people on a team, 4 or 5. So four guys, 18-year-old guys are gonna split $5 million for playing a game. Yeah, and so that's what's gotten it a lot of press and things. This is the first time that this has been done, but I guarantee you this is not going to be the last time that this structure is going to happen again. There are other tournaments, other yearly
Mhm.
tournaments besides Dota too. There's League of Legends, probably most popular. StarCraft, which is huge, and especially in Korea and stuff. These are worldwide, so there will be teams from all over the world coming to this. It truly is like a World Cup in that respect. And in fact, unfortunately, the U.S. Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depending on where you're listening to this at, the U.S. isn't even they aren't the best teams, right? There's
Mhm.
teams in China and South Korea that just dominate this, but the U.S. holds its own, and so it's very competitive, and you get that whole nationalism aspect of it, and things like any other major sporting event, like the Olympics. Um, the other thing to note in this, and the reason why this you'll definitely see this again, is that remember back earlier in the story I said that the thing costs $10 to buy, right? And $2.50 of that goes into the prize pool. Okay, and
Wow.
that's up to $10 million, right? Well, guess where the other $7.50 goes? The bulk of it, it goes to the company, right? So
Awesome.
if the prize pool is 10 million, they get triple that. So that means that and remember, it's a digital thing. They designed it once by some artist that they probably pay 50, say $100,000. They pay that artist to work for them, salary. He designs this thing, and they make
Oh, it
30 million.
has to. I
They
mean,
make,
games have to cost. I wonder what games do cost to make. I mean, at this level, right? They
but yeah,
it's
but
a
that's just
digital
not.
thing,
No,
but
that has nothing to do with this though. The game is there. That's a different thing. They're already making the game. They already have.
that's true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is they completely generated this from scratch. This little book, this digital book that you can get. Um, so the game is there. They could have not done this, and it would have been the same thing. They would have, not had a big risk. So they made $30 million off this for doing, virtually nothing. One could argue. So any company, any game company where their game is played in a tournament setting has to look at this and go, well, this is a
Yeah.
no-brainer, right?
When are,
We
when are we
we gin
making a
up,
game?
right? We gin
Or
up some.
putting on a tournament, right? I mean, do like a trifecta and get like the three top games and rent out the long center, and just be like, all right, we're putting on a tournament for
Yeah.
these
Well, and
players.
just like I mean, sort of like the game company controls the whole venue, right? So they'll sell tickets. There'll be thousands of people that come to watch the
Mhm.
tournament. It's in Seattle, Washington, at the Key Arena. Um, on here, and I'll even give you the date. I got it up here. So the international is the Korea Arena. It says 26 days from now. So the 26 days from now, the July.
The end of
Um,
July, yeah.
yeah, July 20th, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, in Seattle, there'll be 1,000 people. So all the concessions, all the like this stuff, it's all theirs. It's like if the Seahawks like decided to have a tournament, right? Yeah, other teams come and play against the
Cool.
Seahawks or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and advertising. There'll be sponsors, all the big gaming companies and computer companies. I mean, gaming companies that make peripherals and things like that, right? And energy drinks and Mountain Dew, I'm sure, like, all these things. Right? They're making it as mainstream as possible, and all that money goes to the company. It's just but the fact that if you're a young kid who loves video games and you see that somebody's going to make $4.8 million out there, uh, that's got to have an impact on you, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, this is the first one or the first one of this level that we've seen, but it's not going to stop. Every year from now on, right?
Yeah.
People are going to be making by people I mean gamers, game players are going to be making millions of dollars a year. The best ones.
Yeah. So I mean, like, well, out of how many people that play it, right? Like, who's pro? Like,
Yeah,
what is is it like 0.0001,
yeah. Like
percent?
out of all the kids that play soccer ever in their
Mhm.
lives, how many of
That's
them are
true.
playing in the World Cup?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Point
That's
zero
the
zero
exact
one.
That's
Yeah.
the exact correlation, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Okay, and so that's the end of my first story was just sort of covering the status of that because it is getting close to it's getting close to almost being the tournament, and I'll be sure to talk about that when that happens. But just this idea of we're going to gin up a virtual thing, and when you buy it, it's gonna create the prize pool and stuff, and this whole phenomenon.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, train the kids to do what they love, right? So that'll be very, very cool. My first story is, do you really want to be yourself at work? And would you
No.
love?
Next story. All right. My next story is
And surprisingly, a lot of people say no, and it's this. So, would you love to work in a place where you could truly be yourself?
Oh, that's a different question.
So that's the next question. That's the first question in the paragraph, and it's where you didn't have to spend a single moment of your time and energy making sure to always be putting on your best self, right? So, and it says most people would, but it's this professor he did a 3-year comparative study. He's a Harvard education professor, and he did a 3-year study with these two companies, that one West Coast and one East Coast, that each have about over 100 people, and their culture is to basically fail up, right? I mean, to take that to learn to not always be just showing, competing with everybody else to show the boss that you're the absolute best and you never make a mistake and what have you. So, but the researchers found that precious few companies that took this approach, in their initial pool of only 20 candidates, just 2 with 100 or more employees had been operating fully and successfully in the mode of having the entire organization building on each other and their failures and what have you. So it's
how do they quantify that? It's like, how do you know that, oh, you're not living up to your full potential, or what do you mean, like, were there like
that it's okay to fail? Like, if you make a mistake, you make okay. So
do they track failures, or what?
I think they did. In these companies, employees didn't spend any time hiding their inadequacies or preserving their reputation. Rather,
how do they know that?
Everyone from the CEO down was expected to make mistakes and learn from them and grow. In fact, both organizations had elaborate systems designed to promote individuals into roles a bit beyond their comfort zone to ensure that they would inevitably learn from failure. In this way, people became masters not of a particular skill, but of learning to adjust to a new situation, which produced organizations that were remarkably resilient. And it's just interesting to me that this is like, and there's a whole assessment if you're the type of leader that thinks like this, or you're more the old school skill, like you do this job, what you know really, really well, and you just keep on doing that and show that you're the best at that. And I think that whole culture creates mediocrity, because you can never move out of your position because you get too good at.
I completely disagree.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be in a job. I mean, I may not have before my current job, but where I am in a technical, in an IT side, software application engineering, like I'm doing. Well, okay. So first off, I work with all nerds, right? We're in IT. We are the prototypical IT, like Star Wars, Marvel T-shirts, things like that. We're all nerds, right? We just are. There are some people who just don't want to be managers. Not that they couldn't be, that they just don't want to. That's not. So this is, this goes back to like, well, we're going to teach all of our kids the same, and the public school curriculum is going to be exactly the same because everyone must learn this. No, or everyone must go to college. No, not everyone. So it's the same sort of genre. Like, there are people who just don't want to be managers. Okay, that's fine. Second, in the technical aspect, like, people who are really good at coding or debugging or testing. Like if you are a tech company, like you can't afford to. Like, oh well, yes, this Rob is
Yes,
the
on an
absolute
emotional
best.
level, right? But that's what coders
No,
do
no.
all day, right? I mean, you test, you fail, you learn from it, you move. I mean, you're doing that constantly,
Yeah,
moment by
no,
moment by moment
I'm
by moment.
speaking.
I'm not talking about like major, just being like, oh, well, you like being a slacker about it. I'm saying like on a fundamental level, yes, that's programming. This is the way we program. Like this is the way
No, you're
we
missing the
code.
point. You're missing the point entirely. I'm speaking exactly to this like corporate structure of, oh well, we're going to move you into something that is
Mm.
more challenging or that you're not comfortable with to help you grow and become better. Well, okay, well, as soon as you move your best JavaScript programmer into anything else, even if it's another technical thing. Oh, you're so good at JavaScript. Now, how about you learn Java or HTML or something
Mm.
because it'll help you grow and be. And I can see why that would make sense to people who don't live it, right? Who aren't in a thing where
Mm.
I absolutely rely on Jeff to give me my SQL queries. He's the best at it. He's the best at reporting services. And if you said tomorrow, oh, you know what, Jeff is going to be promoted to a manager now of a database team, and he's gone now. So now you work with Joe the rookie and have fun. Like that's not how I understand how even if that
Yeah, no, I
promotes
can see in the tech on the
growth,
tech side of it, and
yeah,
it
it
not.
doesn't
I
work.
mean that part of it not working. You should.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. There is an assessment, like a different like little assessment test that they give to their CEO, whether you would be like a CEO, and they have where your interest lies, right? Some people, like you said, don't want to be the lead of the pack. Some people don't want to be the CEO or manage people or middle management or anything like that. So
Yep.
um, I think they take into account where people want to be, right? And I'm sure their tech department probably works within itself and its own way, But um,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think I don't know. I think ideally you work at a company that provides opportunities if you want to grow, and I think I work in that kind of. I think I've hit
mhm,
like the total sweet spot as far as companies go. I love the company I work for because I don't view myself as a master of like a certain thing, like
mhm,
indispensable. I'm the best. I'm a sort of I know a little bit about everything. That's why I've been able to succeed so much. Is I don't. I'm not a master of SQL queries, but if you give me one, I can read it. I'm not a master of JavaScript, but I can, understand. And I write a little bit, and I do a little bit of this. I can problem solve. I can talk to people. So the
mhm.
very fact that I have that ability to, and that's been my biggest strength is being able to
Yes.
translate. I'm the translator. I'm the ambassador of the nerds
You should
to the rest
change
of the
your job
business.
title to that
Yeah,
instead of
nerd
IT
ambassador.
portfolio analyst.
Yeah. Instead, I don't want to be an evangelist. I want to be an ambassador. I'm the IT ambassador. That's perfect. I should actually. Um, and so my company is great because if I really want to, as soon as I want to do something else, and this is historically or even empirically,
Mhm.
when I've wanted to do something else, they've given me the opportunity to do so.
Yep.
But I work with and like on my team right now are people who he doesn't ever want a guy that doesn't want to be a manager ever. He doesn't. That's not what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He's in his place. He's very good. He's indispensable in what he does, and that works for him. And guess what?
Mhm.
It works for everyone else because
Yeah.
we all depend on him. So we have the best of both. Like he's not forced to go anything because it's the new hot. Like I love, you know. The CEOs should never shop at Costco like the book section. Like, oh, here's the new hot management
Yeah.
trend is you should do this and mix everybody up or force ranking or any of this other garbage. It's like have a measured approach. Try it, I guess. I mean, try it with a team or something. But yeah, I worry about it. Like, oh well, it's time for you to move because it's been 9 months, and every 9 months, everyone moves to the left
Yeah, and
one position.
I don't think that's what they're saying. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think that's the goal here. I think it's more so of people
Being
being
able to
able to be
fail. Yeah.
and people being able to
Yes.
fail and people being people at work.
Yeah.
Like you know that the person has the CEO has a family, just like the person in the mail room, right? And you can talk about that, and if there's problems, it's okay. Everybody has problems. Let's move on. I mean, like, it just
Yeah.
the whole idea that it's not linear. Like, business isn't. I mean, everything just kind of overlays each other, and life is cyclical. Like everything in life, it just kind of goes around in this spiral that I always talk about. And business is the same exact way. Like everything I learned about being an entrepreneur, I learned from raising the kids and a family and everything. And you just, for the longest time, we've separated that, and we've defined success as just like the CEO who just goes to play golf, and this is success and this is not. And I think they're trying to make business more human.
Yeah,
I think
I have a little bit of issue with that, the whole philosophy too. In that I have one issue with it, in that you can't tell me that it's as okay for the sales guy or the guy making $50,000 a year. It's as okay for him to fail as it is the CEO making $50 million a year, right? You can't tell me that, or I don't believe that. If you make $50 million a year, you have that much less, or okay, so maybe it's not 50. If you make $5 million a year, which is in line with what actually it's probably lower than the average CEO salary these days, and the other guy makes $50,000 a year, he should be able to fail 100 times more than you. I feel like, right? You're getting because why? Why are you making $5 million? You don't do anything. I mean, you don't build anything. You don't make anything.
Yeah,
you
but
don't
you're
sell
like
anything.
the glue that, like, I mean, you
Yeah,
keep
the glue
together
can't
a company, right?
fail. Yeah, the glue can't fail. You're in charge, right? The guy in charge, and I'm saying it can't fail. He shouldn't be allowed to fail. He, she, whoever it is, shouldn't be allowed to fail as much as the people who are
Right, and he wouldn't. I mean, like, at the same things, right? Like, it wouldn't be the same type of failure, but it would be.
Yeah.
He should be promoting a culture that it's okay to look inward and grow from something, right? Like, the only way you can grow.
Promoting that culture to everyone below themselves, and like I'll include like vice presidents and managers, like
upper management, right?
Yeah, because what is your job as a manager? Like your sole job, you don't create anything, right? You're not like involved in the production of the business, whatever it is. You are managing people. So the only way to fail as a manager means that you mismanage people, and I don't think that's
and that's okay. It, right? Like making sure that they look, the emotional intelligence of it, right? Like making sure that they feel like they can be themselves, that they don't always have to be tap dancing on the desk about the greatest thing that they ever did. And I'm not talking about like huge, like you screw up big time. I mean, there's always going to be consequences for that. Like if there's something that you should have known to do and you just don't do it, or you, it's just like, yeah. So
yeah,
we'll disagree to disagree.
Yes, we will.
I think people should be able to be themselves at work, like their best selves, right? And the only way you can do that is
we have to be our best selves. Wait. Well, what if my best self isn't isn't what my company wants?
If you hate what you do, then you should, I believe you should find something that you like to do.
I agree.
In that transition.
I agree. Everyone in the United States, who I presume is now listening to this podcast by episode 11, should, if they don't like their job, should quit right now. I
didn't say that.
You heard it here first. Chandra Achberger says, don't like your job, quit.
No. You can't complain about it if you're not going to change it, right? I guess that's my main thing. Like if you learn from your failures, and you can't complain about something that you're not willing to change.
Yeah.
But either deal with it, exactly.
So most companies do not practice this doctrine that you're talking about in the story, and so in that case, you are responsible for learning from your own failures. And if your company wants to, I don't know, fire you or punish you or whatever, well, that's their problem. But it should always be, whether you're working or not, frankly, right? Learning. I tell the kids this, right? It's okay to fail.
It's just
learn
life,
from it, and don't don't do it again, right? Don't do it don't fail the same way again. It's okay to fail. Try something, fail, try again, and fail. That's fine as long as you didn't fail the exact same way.
Yes, and I think business should be the same way.
It should be.
Yeah. So that's my point. All right, I brought you around.
You brought me back around. Yeah. There we go. All right. So my next story. Let's talk about somebody who's not failing. This is so the headline of the article is YouTube gaming personality PewDiePie makes $4 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Gamer Headlines, and basically, so I'm sure everyone's heard of YouTube, right? And if you haven't or didn't know, the #1 subscribed channel on YouTube of all of YouTube, right, including Justin Timberlake and actors and all celebrities and things like that. Everyone you've ever heard of that has a channel on YouTube. The person who is subscribed to more than any of them is this guy named PewDiePie. He is a Swedish Let's Player. That's your vocab word for the day. A Let's Player is someone who does post videos online of them playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're typically called like
That's a good name for it. Let's Play.
Yeah. Let's play. Because the videos are typically titled like "Let's Play Civilization" or "Let's Play StarCraft" or something, right? So he currently has the article. It's funny. The article is not that old. The article's from June 19th. Okay, and it says he currently has 27 million subscribers. But I went and looked him up on YouTube like right before this show, and he's at 28 million. So. He was probably 27 million and change, but anyway, he's growing by at least a couple 100,000 in the 19th in 5 days. Very popular. In fact, last year he was at 10 million, and now he's at 28 million subscribers. Just to give you an idea of how popular that is, I in my mind immediately equated it to TV ratings, like to a TV show, like how many people watch a given television program. So good old Wikipedia to the rescue, and basically it has a top 10, or no, not top 10, the top rated TV programs of all time, and about 1 million subscribers or viewers translates to 1 rating point. So basically, PewDiePie has a rating of 28, let's say, for TV parlance. And that would make him the 18th most popular TV show in history, ever. Wow. And just to give you, to throw some names out over like what he's more popular than, he's more popular than Happy Days ever was.
Love that show.
Laverne and Shirley, 60 Minutes, Dallas. Roseanne, The Cosby Show, Cheers, Seinfeld.
Wow. Cheers and Seinfeld. He beat
Seinfeld, ER, all of those. In fact, the only ones that beat him, like it's funny, the top ones, and it has to be because they were the only. It's like the #1 show ever is the Texaco Star Theater, which got a 61 rating because it's the only show on TV. There probably wasn't even, forget 3 channels in 1950.
There was.
Yeah. Okay. One. So just and I Love Lucy, and Gunsmoke and the Beverly Hillbillies and Bonanza. And
all the old shows. Right?
Yeah, right. Where that was the only thing on, right?
And people still watch them, right? Like, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that gives you some perspective of how big he is. Not only is he the #1, or how big he is and how big YouTube is, right? I guess because he's the biggest thing on YouTube, and that equates to effectively one of the most popular TV shows in the history of TV. Yep. His name is Felix Kjellberg. I said he's Swedish. He started his channel 3 years ago, so he hasn't been doing this for a super long time. And despite a low growth early on, basically picked up the pace after a few months. So, and again, like I said, he went from 10 million to 27 million, and so he must have done 0 to 10 million in the first 2 years. He says the only thing he does, folks, for people like, well, okay, how do you get to 27 million viewers? You play these indie horror games So they're games that are designed to like scare you or like suspense and dark and zombies
No,
jumping out of the woodwork and stuff, right?
no.
So what he does is he records himself playing those games and screaming and swearing at them, and that's it. That's how you get to 27 million views. Literally, I had played some of it because I went to look him up on YouTube, and like one of his videos just started playing, and it's like, oh, don't do it. I want to. I can't get. We need to get my audio, be able to show in that for you into the podcast. But it's just him screaming profanities while he plays the game, or even at some point just watches the game.
And many people like cat gifs, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
people.
So and the article goes on to say like he is the most popular, but there's this growing every day. More and more people get on YouTube, and this is what they do. I mean, this is what they do for I guess a job or try to, right? This is how they're trying to make money, is just playing these games.
It is the fastest way. I mean, it's not even just. I mean, I know you're doing a whole game show, but I just read an article on how people buy from YouTube. It's become.
I was going to get into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go for it.
So it goes on and says like the Let's Play community has become a hugely powerful effect on game trends and actual games. So basically, if you can get PewDiePie to play your game, and again, he plays like indie games. He's not playing like big budget EA Sports. I mean, he probably runs the gambit, but you almost have it made, even though he's just screaming and profanities and the game looks horrible. They say like he plays these like broken games and it's funny, right? He's like yelling at them. It doesn't matter. People go and buy the game anyway.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's like the best advertising, right?
Yeah, it's not just him. Like because everyone kind of niches down in this Let's Play, right? So if you are a Let's Player, you generally just do like sort of one genre. Like I do Madden or the sports games, right? Or I do the Avengers or the Marvel games and things like that. So if you're creating a new horror game, you have got to get. It's like he's like the Oprah. And I just realized that he's like the Oprah book club of games. If you can get your game to him, it's done. You are set, right? Especially if you've got a low budget sort of indie game. He's impacting, and him and others like him are impacting how games are developed, what types of games are developed, and then how they're marketed. Yeah, and then it gets down to dollars. So what is 27 million YouTube subscribers translate to? And they say that he could make over $4 million this year alone through ad revenue on his channel. Almost all profit, because let's face it, other than maybe the $5 he shelled out for the game, presuming the game company didn't send it to him for free, and a webcam he bought 4 years ago, this guy has no production costs. And when I say no, I mean none. Go check out a video if you want. It's a picture of him in a little like his webcam up in a little window, and then the rest of the screen is the game, and he's yelling and screaming. And that'll get you $4 million pure profit this year. Now he is on a network, so this is where I'll end it with this. This is how the story ends, and this is how we're going down the rabbit hole now here, folks. So his channel is on a network, a YouTube network called Maker Studios, and Maker Studios, the article says, controls most of the big personalities on YouTube. So PewDiePie, Toby Turner, Jesse Cox, and a whole list of other people I have not heard of, and probably you have not either. They even have their own channel where personalities come together and play games. Okay, so that's Maker Studios that owns PewDiePie. Maker Studios was recently acquired by, wait for it, Walt Disney for $500 million. Showing the interest in video games and YouTube content. So there you go. Basically, PewDiePie is owned by the Disney company, and we were talking offline, right, about the acquisition of Beats by Apple for $2 billion versus the entire Star Wars universe and properties for $4 billion by Disney.
Disney.
Disney, the long and short of it is that Disney is one of the best one of the best business
Mhm.
acumen in the entertainment space of anybody, right? And they own Maker Studios, which owns, among other people, which owns all the big personalities on YouTube.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's and that's it. So there you go, folks. I've given you yet another way. You can play games in tournaments, which is very very difficult. And if you're the very best, you can make $4 million, a couple $1 million a year. Or you can just pay nothing, be horrible at games, stream them online, and make one guy $4 million a year. And to be fair, there are lots of other there are many other
Yeah.
YouTube gamers who are making not 4 million, but are making living. They're
Yeah.
living. I guess that's all. That's what you need to say, right? They are living off of streaming their games, or video of them playing games online.
Very crazy. We have the technology, or I mean, it's just the times we live in, right? I mean, people
Yep.
want to be. If you're a personality, you can be on TV. Look at us.
Or make a podcast.
Make a podcast or a video cast or whatever it is. So I guess I'll change my third story. It's something I was kind of going to talk about, but it's the 21st century product launch. Why it's never been a better time to be a creator. So I just had this up, and I was going to save it for tomorrow, but we seem to be on that path, and it's like nearly everything related to launching a product online has changed in the last decade, and it's continuing to change at a very rapid pace. Just a few years ago, it was incredibly difficult to launch and sell a product, any product, directly to your audience, and they just go into it. But it baffles me every single day when I look for stories or, just being alive, and we do it. I mean, you can create anything, and for not a lot of money, but it's not, you have to build an audience, right? It's not as easy as people think. Like, you build a website, all right, I'm in business, but we have access to all the tools, and this is a step-by-step, and it's called Beta Beat, and it's the lowdown on high tech, but they go into a little bit, and since Gumroad, have you heard of Gumroad?
Yep.
Yeah, so like they just talk about Gumroad. Gumroad is the platform that many of these creators are choosing to power their sales. We've had a first-hand look at thousands of creators' product launches, from first-time writers and straight from the garage musicians to best-selling authors and multi-platinum recording. And this kind of goes into what we were talking about yesterday a little bit with the, just these platforms where you can sell your wares, right? Like, make something and put it out there and see if people are going to buy it. And it goes back to, yes, all of this, right? So it's just like the same thing. Like, you have the opportunity to see what people are interested in or not, and you can move on, and without investing. I mean, these are actual products, but like a lot of it is, if you're a programmer, I mean, you're pretty much set. Make a little game, and eventually, hopefully, you just hop onto something. And if not, you can have.
Apparently, record yourself playing it, put it on YouTube, and either way, you'll either make money from the game or you'll make money from the videos.
I just got an idea. We should have the kids play games and just record what they do with them, and that would be a good show.
That would have been fun. That would have been fun last night when we had our little impromptu Street Fighter 4 tournament at the Achberger household. Yep. Even Mommy got involved. That was a full.
I rarely play games, but I will rock some Street Fighter even though I lost.
So there we go. We'll do all four. We'll do the Achberger family game time, and yes. Although all of us take losing very very hard. And I almost lost to my 5-year-old son. I had about less than 10% health left on the final match of a 5-round best of 5 fight. It was tied 2-2. It was sudden death, and I won, and he lost, and he took it very hard, and I took it very well. And
then it was bedtime.
And I'm living it up because I know, as good as I am at video games, someday I have to face, just like the inevitability of death, the inevitability that my son and probably daughter, because she's quite good too, are going to beat me at a video game, and that's going to be I don't even want to think
It's
about it.
probably not that far away, honey. But yeah, so this is really cool, and it's a cool little article. Obviously, we'll post in the post notes, but it's how to set up, and it says email is gold, which it's starting any business, that is the number one thing. You need to find a way to get email subscribers so you can communicate with your audience, right? And then onward, and then the magic of drip emails, and then tier your pricing. And there's a really cool paragraph here on tiered pricing, which I really, really, really love for different products. So if you're thinking about doing a product, you should really launching a product or anything, even a service. There's a really great breakdown on tiered pricing, and I know a lot of people struggle. I've had a lot of clients, and usually the one of the biggest things is, well, two of the biggest things are audience and then pricing. People have a really hard time doing so, but
Yeah.
we can do it.
Yeah.
You just set your mind to it.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point to say or ask the audience, our listeners. This is something. This is kind of in our wheel, mostly your wheelhouse, a little bit my wheelhouse. And if you'd like to hear more things like that, we could certainly add in, more towards the how to do some of this stuff or tools for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of try to run the gamut, other than today's when I've themed it, things like that. But yeah, so
well,
if
I would love having Tech Tuesdays. I think we should totally go with that, because it's
or business, like, an all, like, what I'm saying. I'm saying,
Yeah.
speaking to exactly this, like, we could have a day where we just talk about how to get things rolling, like
that'd be great.
stories and tools for starting up your business and things like that. So if that's something people are interested in out
Let
there,
us know. That would
know.
be awesome. Yeah.
Okay. My final story. So let me say, I've told you how you can
Let
make
me guess.
money.
Gaming.
Yeah, well, sort of, yes. So I've told you how you can make money playing games in tournaments. I've told you how you can make money video recording yourself just playing a game in a non-tournament, like, horrible setting, regardless of how good you are. And so maybe I've convinced you. I'm going to assume most of our listeners out there are more towards the parent side than the actual game player side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I've convinced you, you know what, maybe my kids, I know they already like games, and I've told them to limit it, or maybe I should go the other way and say, hey, just put pedal to the metal, put your foot on the gas, play full time. But I still
do nothing in moderation in the Achberger household.
But I still want them to go to college, right? Because that's what they should do. So I got a story for you. So this last one comes from Forbes, Paul Tassi on Forbes, and it's titled "Illinois College Makes League of Legends a Varsity Sport, offers scholarships." So I mentioned League of Legends a little bit. That's the game that it's almost exactly like Dota 2, which is having the big tournament. League of Legends has big tournaments as well. They just didn't think up this little digital book thing first. Otherwise, we'd be talking about them instead. But Robert Morris University in Illinois, it's a 7,000 student college, so it's not it's not huge, but it's not like the University of Texas, but it's not nothing. And they have decided to basically offer scholarships, 50% tuition, 50% room and board, to students who can be on their League of Legends team, which they are classifying as a varsity. It's part of the varsity sports program. So the quotes in the story are from Associate Athletic Director Kurt Melcher from Robert Morris. So this is the athletic. I see like the jocks talking about. I'm making assumptions here. Maybe Kurt Melcher has never played sports and is only into video games. His quote. It's worth reading. Robert Morris University has always been at the forefront of providing opportunities for a diverse student population with different interests and skills. League of Legends is a competitive, challenging game which requires a significant amount of teamwork to be successful.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I mean, scholarships for things that are that they can be the best at, right?
So Robert Morris's team will compete in the already well-established Collegiate Star League. What is that, you may ask? That's a collection of 103 universities, including Harvard, all the not all, but Ivy Leagues, ASU, just like there's a couple that they mentioned. So there's 103 colleges that have a league together, and they all field teams. These 100, basically like the NCAA, right, which I think is 113, like football, basketball teams, and they compete for $100,000 in scholarships provided by Riot Games. Riot Games is, so I think I attributed Dota 2 to Riot Games. Riot makes League of Legends. But anyway, the game company itself is putting up $100,000 in scholarships. And again, this is just for League of Legends, but I'm willing to bet there are other. The Collegiate Star League is not just League of Legends. I think there are some other things as well, other games. So it's a chance to win a lot more money in scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's not completely selfless on the university standpoint, because and that's the article kind of posits that this more than likely is a publicity stunt. I mean, yeah, they are doing it. It's the thing they're doing, but it's Robert Morris, a small thing. They're garnering all this attention, and guess who you attract to your school simply by virtue of having a League of Legends scholarship team, right? Even if they're not on the team, right? What I'm saying is that you've put yourself out there as, hey, we are the kind of place where if you like to play video games, even if you're not on the varsity team, you're welcome here, right?
It's celebrated, right? I mean, they're celebrating the right thing.
Yes.
Well, for a certain group of people who have never been celebrated before on that level. Right?
And as it happens, the people who are attracted to that proposition are your computer science majors, your programmers, your guys who are going to go into their garage or dorm room and create the next startup, right? Yeah. So this is a brilliant from the university standpoint, and this is exactly why I am going to predict that you will see this is the first, but it certainly will not be the last.
I hope not. It would be,
This is the wave of things to come, right? Yeah. Because this is what happens right now. You have a national championship football team, and I've seen studies where enrollment increases, just broad total enrollment of a school increases the year after they win, like, the national title for football. Now, those are not all football players. I'm saying that, like, more people than average will go to your school when you have a winning football team. Well, it's the exact same thing, right? It's putting a name out for your school, and like the athletic director said, it's showing that that's the kind of environment that your school is. 67 million monthly players of League of Legends, if you're wondering how big League of Legends is. So that would make it, if we go back to our television show thing, that would make it the most watched television show of all time if you take League of Legends. 67 million people. It's interesting, and I think this is because this article is on Forbes. At least that's how I'm going to say it. But they talk about the worries by people that their kids are just going to play video games all day. Okay, here we go. I'll do the actual quote. There's a generation of kids potentially trying to go pro in esports. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell to say that a teen devoting, say, 6 hours a night to League of Legends in the name of practice is using that time better than devoting a few hours to a more traditional athletic activity, or at the very least, splitting time between both. I mean, eventually they're saying, like, oh, you're wasting all your time because, as you mentioned earlier, Chandra, like, how many people are going to even be in the League of Legends tournament or the Dota 2 tournament, let alone win it, right? And
so, I mean, the only thing the only thing I would agree with that is that it's like sitting, right? Like, it's the death of people is being still, right? I mean, so there is that advantage of being in an actual sport where you're moving, and
right. And so they say, okay, so let's compare it to your kid is either going to play basketball and try to go pro, which has a very small shot, or he's going to play games and try to go pro, which has let's say that those are equal, okay, for comparative purposes. If you play basketball your whole life and don't go pro, you're probably still in, like, very good shape. Right.
Yeah, no but then on the other end, right? Like, so your knees are shot by the time. Physically,
or
your
knees
are shot,
shape.
Right? Like, so, well, you're in good shape. I mean, so, like, everything in moderation, and even stuff that you're really trying to be the best at, you have to move as a human. I mean, you have to take care of your machine, right? Like, maintain and do that. But, like, mind-wise, put a treadmill in front of video game.
Well, yeah. So I would in this if this was like a national debate or something, I would definitely be on the pro esports side, right? And I would argue that you do have to be in. So to sit down and focus on a game for hours on end, you have to be physically capable. Like if
That's true.
it's hard to explain the reaction times, then the skills necessary to win a tournament like this. If you've ever, and I've watched a couple of these tournaments, like especially like the finals. There's not a single overweight kid on either team. Nowhere to be found.
Mm.
These guys are lean and mean. They have to be. You have to be able to withstand the endurance of sitting in a dark room, staring at a screen, and maintaining absolute focus. And you can't do that if your body starts to fatigue. You slow down. Your physical reaction times. I mean, like your muscle reaction times slow down, and you can't have it. So it's very interesting that you have to be. Also, I mean, you said maintaining your machine, and I think you were talking about your body and playing basketball.
Both. I mean, your mind as well. I mean, yes, I did mean that, but both. So yeah.
These guys have to maintain their machine is in their computers, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I've never taken a single computer science class or computer class, and this is what I do for a living. But I had to build my own gaming machines, and if something went, I had to open up the box, figure out the motherboard and all the components because I was swapping out RAM or a sound card or whatever. What's the best technology? What's the best bang for my buck I can get? And I've built about 70 computers by hand now from all the parts, and
yes, my
I did
40th birthday gift that I'm coming at you on. I need to take a picture of it because it's awesome.
So I'm saying, like, these guys are learning. So when these guys are done and they realize the dream is over and they haven't, they're not going to go pro for esports, right? They will still be so much further ahead of their peers in the new economy, right? Let's talk 5-10 years down the road. They are going to be set for life, for all of life after this. If you spend all your time trying to play basketball and make the team, you're going to end up probably physically worse for wear in the long run. Yeah. And also, when you're out of college and your basketball scholarship is done, let's say you got that far and you don't go pro, you are out of luck. I mean, what do you do, right? I'm generalizing, but right for the most part. Whereas, basically, if you're on an esports team, on an esports scholarship, you're going to learn about computers, learning about programming, because it is like, what are shortcuts and things, and problem solving and things that you can do, all related to computers and our new world that we're living in, which isn't even really new world anymore, right? So that's the argument that I would make for why both of our kids should try to become pro gamers.
Should play League of Legends all the time.
Yeah, and if not, then if you don't make the cut, then you just record yourself playing and make money the PewDiePie way.
Profanity.
It's got a built-in backup plan, right? I mean, come on. And maybe you'll have some sort of celebrity I competed at the pro level, or maybe I didn't make it, or I competed at the amateur level, or whatever. But anyway,
right on.
That was my final story.
That's awesome. So I'll go with recording the classroom. Though our world is changing, teaching itself is stuck in a time warp. According to some forward-thinking experts, only by embracing new technology and ideas can 21st century schooling stay up to speed with kids. We compile the work of educators who argue that educators need to let go of previous models of learning and open themselves to new concepts and ideas, realizing that the skills that will be valuable in the future are not the same as those we valued in the past. And that's just like the opening paragraph of this article.
Yes. And, once upon a time, buggy whip makers were a prized profession, but nobody studies buggy whip making in college anymore.
So it's a really well written article and written by Think with Google, but which is cool. I just found these guys, but it just, there's a couple of lessons in here, and it's like the world is changing. Jump on board while you can, because it's going to pass us by if we do not do this. And they talk about the structure of our school system and how it's this whole hierarchy, which just doesn't exist anymore. Not even, and less in even in the corporate world. But
Mhm.
and the one quote from one of the people is, every child should be learning code, even if it's just to know how the system works. They should
Yes.
learn how to work collaboratively, how to work in groups, and manage a project. All of these intense skills are similar to the world of learning kids experience online. So they're talking about incorporating, obviously, like just incorporating what we have rather than, a teacher standing in front of the classroom lecturing children. People just don't learn that way, and it's not even that. It's that's not the world we live in, right? Like children need to learn how to process and problem solve, and I mean, we're beating a dead horse with this. I
Yes.
mean, we both
Yes.
definitely agree,
I
it's
very,
a
very
really
seldomly
well
give
done.
or receive lectures in my current profession.
Yeah.
And I remember the
So
last time I gave or received a lecture or a lecture-like performance uh, in my profession.
yeah. So I highly recommend, if you are into education reform as much as we are, read this article. I'll have excerpts on the website, but also have it. You can read it.
Yeah, and
Change.
I have a really good. Stay tuned next Monday when I'm gonna save it for my movie recommendations. But on Monday I'll have a recommendation for a great movie about our current. I've been on a documentary kick, and then fits right in there. But that's a
Right on.
little teaser for you.
We need like a sound bite for that.
Yeah, we do. We need lots of sound bites.
Right on.
All right. Who are we brought to you by today?
Today we're brought to you by Moxie Moguls, and this is my one of my passion projects. But it's how to teaching people how to get engaged, an engaged audience, and pricing and all that good stuff. Putting the passion back into your business, and growing, and enjoying making money instead of schlepping to work all the time, like I've said before. So Moxie Moguls, you can find me at moxiemoguls.com, and I'm starting up that podcast again. And as I do courses and webinars, I'm doing a vision board webinar this week, and just have to have goals, and I think it's a great thing. So moxiemoguls.com, come and visit me.
Yes, indeed. All right. For recommendations, how about I'm going to do both, since mine are both related and game related. I'll do both mine, and then you can do both
Okay.
yours. Okay. All right. So my two recommendations today, as I said, are both game related. The first one is Steam. So if you go to, it's actually steampowered.com. Man, I could talk for an hour about what Steam is and it started out as just a place to buy games online, sort of like an Amazon for games, and it's become this whole thing. Now there's tons of options and features that it has, game sharing, library sharing, and streaming games from your computer to your TV, and all this other stuff. But go check it out either for yourself. They have all types of games. I don't care who you are right now listening to this. If you go to Steam, there'll be some sort of game that will catch your interest from any age range. If you have kids, all the more reason you go there. And especially why I felt like mentioning it right now is they're having their big summer sale. Which every day, actually every 8 hours, I'm desperately trying to resist the urge. So every 8 hours they have new deals, and they're on 50, 75, 80% off on games. Wow. And they rotate it through, and they have flash sales on various games. And I've managed to keep it at just $5 so far. It started a couple days ago. But they got this Lego movie video game here for $7, was originally $30. Anyway, so go check it out. Check it out now, or when you hear this. It runs for a couple. It runs till June 30th. So hopefully we'll have the episode up But even after that, they always are running deals. This is just sort of their big summer sale. They have
Mm.
a big winter sale, a big Black Friday sale, yeah, all the time. Um, the most beautiful thing, and then I'll keep it pretty short on this because I think the site speaks for itself. But is that once you buy a game here, you have it forever. It's in your library, and if my computer got completely wiped out, if the hard drive, I got a virus, whatever, and I had to lose everything, or I get a brand new computer in the house, all I have to do is install Steam, and all my games are there, and I just say, oh yeah, I want this one, install it,
Mhm.
and they're just there. No discs, no CD keys, none of this garbage about, oh look, the kids are using the game discs as frisbees. Isn't that cute? Which I hate about the Xbox. I mean, we have two Xboxes in the house, and they just you have to have the disc, and you got to switch the discs, and so that this is what's great. You buy a game, you have it forever. It's in your library, and you can get all the upgrades and all the updates. Like it updates automatically as patches come out and things like that. So Steam at steampowered.com is my first recommendation, and then my final recommendation is actually another podcast. So although I've themed today on my side as games, we don't generally, and I'll try to scatter in some gaming news as often as I can, but we're not a gaming podcast per se. Um, no, or maybe we are. She's laughing at me. Um, but there is. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one in particular that I do listen to that is just about games is called The Final Score. The Final Score. It's in iTunes or whatever podcatcher you use, or you can go to frogpants.com and you'll find it there. Frogpants is the name of the network that I listen to almost all the podcasts on, Scott Johnson and Frogpants Studios. But this one in particular is Scott Johnson, Brian Dunaway, and Nicole Spagnolo. And so you get a balance of, it's not just three guys talking about games. It's nice to have Nicole on there, get a different perspective. They're parents. They're older. At least Scott and Nicole are, I think. And so it's nice. It's a more mature, not as in content mature, but mature like viewpoint, older viewpoint on games. It runs the gambit. They play all kinds of different games, and it's just fun. It's a fun hour once a week to get a perspective on what's happening news-wise and game-wise, and what you might want to check out. They talk a lot about Steam. They give away Steam games
Cool.
and stuff like that. So the Final Score podcast, check it out for all your gaming needs. After you've listened to our Breakfast Club, of course.
Right on. Well, that's super cool. And my I one of my tools I just found today, or actually I've been following them for a while, but I rediscovered them today, and that's thinkwithgoogle.com. And there are tons of articles, and you can even one of their what do you call it, menu options is perspectives. And then you choose whether you want to look at gaming or education or what have you. And it's really, really cool, and they have a bunch of stuff for developers if that's your thing, and products and tools that are all over the web. I mean, it's not just Google stuff, but I mean, there's just so many second-person apps that are so valuable, and it's just a really well put together site, and it's called thinkwithgoogle.com. And so that's my first thing, and then my second thing is actually the link between Google Hangouts and YouTube. I'm in a forum with a podcast that I really like, and that's called Fizzle. Which, if you're into business, anything, if you're an entrepreneur, it's a great podcast. But someone asked, they're like, "How do you record a Hangout?" And I just was like, "Yeah, you just press of a button, right? You start a Hangout on air,
Record, yeah.
and then you can have it public or not. It just goes straight to your YouTube channel." And like everything else we've talked about, the barrier to entry is just absolutely, you need a webcam, and you can start recording your show. If you have something to say to people and you want to get your voice out there, there is nothing really like video and then going straight to YouTube. And so doing a Google Hangout, I don't use my Google Plus an awful lot. I mean, I do sometimes to post things, but
You and
like
everyone
these
else.
tools. Yeah. Well, no, a lot of some people do. If you're a I mean, I'm into photography, but if I like sold to photographers, I would stay. I would be probably more involved on Google Plus. But as far as these tools, though, to do a hangout and or a webinar or whatever it is you want to do, you can do that, and it doesn't cost anything, you know. So
Yeah.
and it helps your SEO. You know, people are always talking about SEO, SEO, SEO. Put a
What's
video
it?
up.
What's SEO?
Search engine optimization.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, maybe they're not. Maybe people don't care. It's just me.
No, it's good. And like you said, so we've talked. I talked predominantly about games, and this is one way you could do a Google Hangout where you
Yep.
played games, right? Because you can share your screen. Wouldn't have to be games. If you have an application that you're good at,
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop, Excel, you name it, right? Audacity. There's just like several ones where I'm like, oh man, I personally would watch somebody who knew what they were doing go through a little snippet on so that you use Google Hangouts to record the session and then it goes to YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the ease of the recording of doing the presentation, while at the same time then archiving it on YouTube for people to watch later on. So when I search how do I do this in Photoshop on YouTube or Photoshop tutorials on YouTube, your video can come up because you've recorded it through a Google Hangout. And then especially where it really shines is, I guess, it'd be collaboration, right? So if you and I were going to walk through how to do something on Excel, then you can have everybody on there. Like you and 10 of your friends
Mm-hmm.
are all gonna, you and 4 of your friends are gonna play a game together, right? You could
Yep.
record all of that with everybody having a little video, and as you're yelling and have a good time and swearing, record it all. It goes onto
Yep.
YouTube, and there you go.
Yep. So those are my 2 recommendations for today.
Cool. Well, I think that
Awesome.
about does it, right?
Yep. We're all wrapped up, and thank you so much for joining us today. We will look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning and hoping to get actually do this live at some point, trying to set that up, but all in good work. And we just really would love to hear what you want to hear us talk about, or if you want to be involved in this in any way, we just would love to grow and get better and serve you, basically, to hear what you wanna hear.
Yeah, if you want to hear more gaming news, send in those emails, send those comments. If you want to hear less gaming news, maybe wait. Mail. If you want to hear less gaming news, mail those comments to the post office at your leisure when it's convenient. Yeah.
Right on. Well, have a great day and have a good one. Aloha.
Thanks all.
That's my mouth.